It is January 2nd, 1611, and Choctic is a village in what was then Upper Hungary, which today lies in western Slovakia. The sound begins with Elizabeth Bathory, a Hungarian countess who, together with several of her subjects, is accused of the murder of dozens of young girls, who were also tortured in the worst possible ways for several years. The main defendant is herself, but thanks to her position, she avoids direct participation in the trial. Her fate is therefore decided based on the testimonies of her alleged accomplices, and the trial begins to gain momentum quickly. After years of silence and turning a blind eye, everyone suddenly has something to say. Elizabeth was born on August 7th, 1560, in the Hungarian village of Nyírbátor, near present-day Rumunsk. She came from one of the most influential families of the time, from the Bathory family. She grew up in luxury from an early age and received the best education. In addition to Hungarian, she knew German, Latin, and Greek. At the same time, however, she grew up in harsh times. The threat from the Turks was growing stronger, and executions or torture of prisoners were the order of the day. To ensure security in their county, they betrothed her to another influential nobleman, Franciszek Nadasdy, at the age of 13. This family also owned extensive territories, and their influence extended to present-day Slovakia. The ceremony took place on May 8, 1575, in Vranov na Topla. And as a wedding gift, 15-year-old Elizabeth received a castle in Choctic, 350 kilometers away. She thus became the Lady of Choctic. She and her husband have 5 children in total, but 2 die young. The remaining 3 are taken care of by a governess. In 1578, her husband is appointed captain-in-chief of the Hungarian army and goes to fight the Turks. In 1593, the conflict escalates into the so-called Long Turkish War. During all that time, Elizabeth manages the family property and de facto rules the region, which is very close to the military line. The people there are used to everything, even the fact that sometimes someone disappears and cannot be found. Nadasdy himself enjoys fighting. He is known to be very cruel, and he is said to teach his wife sophisticated ways to punish his maids. In 1601, however, he begins to suffer from crippling leg pain, and on January 4th, 1604, he dies of an unknown illness. But before that, he manages to entrust his friend Turso with an important task. From now on, he will be the one who will oversee the well-being of his family. Let's go back to Elizabeth. She was already cruel to her subjects in the past. For example, she is said to have stuck needles under the nails of seamstresses if they messed up their stitches. After her husband's death, her sadistic nature surfaced even more. Anna Darvuli, the spice merchant and Elizabeth's confidant, who would become her right-hand woman, also apparently began to play a major role. And what began as punishment by servants gradually began to turn into possession. According to later testimonies, she and her accomplices tortured the girls with pliers, cut them with a knife, or burned them red-hot with a hot iron. Her sadistic invention went even further. For example, she would pour ice water over the girls and then let them freeze. Or she would smear their naked bodies with honey and leave them to the mercy of bees and ants. She is also said to have personally bitten off pieces of flesh from the bodies of still living victims. Bathory then even opens a school for girls from better families in the castle, where girls are supposed to learn etiquette and skills important for young ladies. Wealthy daughters just flock there. It is no wonder it seems that they would hardly find a better mentor than a rich and noble educated countess. But as it soon turns out, instead of education, only suffering and death await behind the walls of Choctic. For Bathory, these are not students, but easy prey to satisfy her sadistic desires. It is in a way a perfect plan. Who would dare to suspect a rich and powerful noblewoman? Moreover, Elizabeth always has an explanation at hand. First, she claims that the castle was hit by cholera. Then one of the girls went crazy and killed another. However, over time, these statements began to be far-fetched, first to her parents, then to the priests. In 1610, the situation had gone so far that even the King of Hungary and the Holy Roman Emperor could no longer turn a blind eye to the strange deaths. He therefore decided that the case must be investigated and appointed the Palatine of Hungary, a high state official who represented the king in some matters, to head it. The investigation begins in March. During the first half of the year alone, Turso and his assistants collect 50 witness statements. That is enough for the investigation commission. 2 days before the end of the year, they raid the castle and arrest Elizabeth at dinner. When they subsequently search the castle cellar, they discover a scene that makes them shiver. Turso wrote this home to his wife about the terrible experience. When our people entered the cellar, they found a dead girl there. The second one, exhausted from torture and brutally beaten, had already died. What's more, there was another beaten woman sitting there and another tied-up woman that this cursed person was hiding for other occasions. Turso finds himself in a difficult situation. On the one hand, he has clear evidence of Elizabeth's guilt in his hands, and on the other, he is bound by his promise. He agrees with Elizabeth's son and sister-in-law to send her to the nuns. Immediately after her arrest, the whole matter is spread far and wide, and a quiet departure to the monastery is out of the question. So Turso devises a plan to keep Bathory under house arrest. A public scandal in the form of her contempt of court would jeopardize the reputation of the entire family. Bathory will never appear in court. Her 4 accomplices will be her key witnesses: her friend Dorota, her nurse Ilona, her laundress Katarzyna, and her servant Jan, nicknamed Fico. As for her confidant and accomplice Anna Darvuli, she died before the trial, which was scheduled for January 1611. All the defendants gradually confessed, saying they had helped Bathory kill and torture the poor girls, who were supposedly 650 in number. Except for one defendant who escaped with a life sentence, the others received the death penalty. The course of the entire trial and Bathory's real guilt are now questioned by some historians. One of the main arguments is that the alleged accomplices confessed only after terrible torture. Many other witnesses had information only from hearsay. Only 3 witnesses testified at the trial, and they changed their testimonies several times during the trial. In addition, the investigation was ordered by Emperor Matthias. The Habsburgs owed the Bathory family a huge financial fortune. If the Countess was convicted, the debts would be erased. And Turso also coveted her lands, which Elizabeth owned. However, there is still a lot of evidence that confirms her guilt. Out of more than 300 people questioned, only 4 people said they knew nothing about her crimes. In addition, many parents testified that their daughters died during their stay at the castle. Many servants then claimed that they saw signs of cruel torture on the bodies of the girls buried in Chocticha. When the local priest came with a proposal for an exhumation, Bathory resolutely refused. Church records confirm that whenever Bathory was at the castle, the local girls died one after another. And the subjects also testified that they often had to wash blood from the castle walls, and that terrible screams could be heard in the corridors. Based on all this testimony, the court announced severe sentences. The main accused actually turned out very well. Elizabeth Bathory was sentenced to life under house arrest on January 7th, 1611, based on an agreement between the judges and Turso. However, she did not stay there for long. 3.5 years later, on August 20th, 1614, she died of unknown causes. She was 54 years old. Within a few years, the stories about Elizabeth Bathory took on a new dimension. Legends were now circulating that she drank the blood of young girls and even bathed in it. We will probably never know what the truth is, but the story has survived for over 400 years, and she is even listed in the Book of Records as the greatest murderer of all time.